Hey everyone, my name is Sai Gaddam. I'm the co-founder of Comini Learning. We run an alternative micro school in Mumbai. We also build systems and tools to enable alternative learning. I'll talk briefly about that to give you some context of how we're using AI, what we do, and then also how we're using it for things that are not specific to our use case, but for things that I believe all founders need. I'm also a neuroscientist and the author of a book called Journey of the Mind, which is about thinking and the evolution of thinking. So for me, this AI world that we're entering is utterly fascinating. So these are two questions that I'm thinking about all the time, both about work and also at the personal level. What will we do with AI? And in turn, what will AI do to us? I do believe that it will reshape things fundamentally, economic landscape, cultural landscape, how we do things. So that's the philosophical. We'll stick with the practical for now, I think, then go beyond that. So we started the school for our own kids because we believe that schooling is broken, fundamentally flawed, and more so in this AI age. But schools are systems. Schools are systems built on top of an entire education system. So for us to do meaningful change, we have to work across the full stack of what we call the philosophy, pedagogy, practice, and process, which means that we have to rebuild everything down from, why are we doing certain things to how exactly we teach in a session. So we build a lot of tools for these. One of the big ones is, so we say schooling is broken. By extension, I think the way we do measurement in schools, which is grades, that's also broken. So how do we do it in a better way? So if we don't do reductive grades, what we can do is holistic narrative portraits of kids. But those are very hard to do because, for each child, you need to know a lot. And this is where we use AI to help with how we synthesize reports from observations made by explainers. I'm going to talk through this very fast because this is not supposed to be a product demo. If anyone's curious as to how we're using AI in this, you can please ask me later, but I want to give you some context, which is why this is going to be a bit of a blur. So we use it for these dashboards to create these synthesized reports from thousands of observations that are made over the course of the days in a school term. We use it to create comic books to help facilitate learning. This is an example of a report. We're just trying this out with the new latest AI. So for the last 1 year or so, we were doing these synthesized textual reports, but not everyone's comfortable with text. You all want some sort of visual idea of what's happening. So we've just started creating these visual reports as well. All of these are easy now. What is important here is how we set up pipelines to get the raw data, because ultimately these are only as good as the raw data that goes into it. So the pipeline of how we capture that raw data matters. Speaking of full stack, we also build our own games both offline and online. Again, the reason we're doing this and working across the full stack, as we call it, is because we want to be able to change learning at every level, sort of work with all the cogs in the system so that they work right together. All of these use AI. This is Some Stories, a card game that we built. This was something we were able to build in a week because image generation is very easy now. You can go from idea to actually generate these cards. We built a mini site to generate these cards. These cards help kids learn words, how to read words based on not just letters. All right, so a grand total of 3 people filled out the form, but that's good enough. So we have some insights. I want to mention, obviously, this deck is created using Notebook LLM, and given that this is an AI chat, I think it's only fitting that we did that. So there might be a couple of issues because, of course, this saves hours and hours of work. This was me dumping an entire bunch of context into this and a bunch of images, and it pulled this out. This was made separately. Flawed. This is just to share what everyone is, I think, grappling with right now, how they're using AI. A lot of it is for generation of reports. A lot of it is for synthesis of content. Typically, it is, I think, customer content or marketing content. The big issue that people have flagged is that a lot of knowledge is scattered, and Slack and WhatsApp are the big communication channels for us, of course. We're talking to people, we're talking to stakeholders, we're talking to employees, we're talking to customers as well. But then we often rely on our own memory to then get this into some system, right? That's easily solvable now, I think. Question is whether we solve it in-house with simple tools we build outside. Um, this was about where time goes for everyone each week. Again, a lot of, I think, broadly, I would say that the most important thing is, I think, the scattering of data, useful data, and the synthesis of that. That's what people look like. So I'd like to talk about two things. One is, I think that we are already using AI as a way to synthesize content and generate content. And that has become so easy. But it also means that along with us, everyone else is using that. And the issue with that is that there's a mountain of slop out there. Slop is the term now used for AI generated content. And in fact, this very phrase is slop in a way. If you've already spent any time with AI text or it has a pattern. It wasn't X, it wasn't Y, it was Z, right? So it wasn't just a tool, it was an evolution. This is the sort of generic speak we see everywhere. And I think speaking specifically about content generation and synthesis, it's very important for us to understand that the context we feed it and the style that we give it, right, our own, is very, very important, right? Because there is going to be a mountain out there competing with all of that. How do you stand out? I think maintaining some database of what is unique and raw and authentic about us, something that is not AI generated, is very important. I just want to give a very brief example of how context matters even with the most recent powerful models. This is, I think, Opus 4.6 with thinking turned on. That's Claude Opus. So I use the phrase, what is AI is just painting by numbers, and I just wanted them to, by them I mean the AI, to sort of deconstruct what that means. On the left is me just asking that question, and you get this answer that it's a metaphor. It's used to describe AI generated text. But a simple change in how you ask that, right? Explain using metaphors and make it accessible can completely change the tone of the answer, right? And this is, from a learning point, is very interesting because metaphors are how we bridge the unknown to the known. And even though the AI is very clearly aware of that and understands that it's actually looking at a metaphor, it does not necessarily use a metaphor to explain it, right? So even a simple prompt can do that. And prompt engineering, of course, is not going to be the career that people talk about, but I think prompts are all about perspective and context, and they still matter a lot. A question that was that's been on my mind, and I think I asked in the form as well, is what is your moat if everyone has access to these AI tools that are generating a lot? And I think it's the context of what you operate in and your unique perspective, which is built over many months and years of dealing with this problem, talking to people, whatever problem you're solving. So there is the surface area that's just a prompt when what you can ask. But the fact is, as these AI models are getting much better and much more powerful, you can actually build your entire context documents, which could be 50, 100 pages long as well. That is very rich and in what you do. And I want to stress that this should not be something that's AI generated, right? You can use AI to, of course, ideate, and but the articulation of the core ideas are what you're articulating on your own. And we've sort of done this. We've built a playbook, not necessarily for AI, but we realize that it's great for context for whatever we create. And the next one. So this is an example of a context document. So we have an entire playbook, which is, I think, 150 pages. But when, let's say, we're creating worksheets, one of the things that we do is, instead of just asking to create a worksheet and give a bunch of principles, we say, hey, let's actually feed this context in so that it immediately understands how Comini operates and all the interconnected ideas, which would make this much richer. This is just what we discussed. Prompt, everyone thinks about prompts. I like you to also think about prompt as perspective. Perspective, there are two aspects. What you know about your own problem, and if it's communication with others, what you know about the end user, right? How they're potentially perceiving something. So prompt is both perspective and empathy, depending on the context of what you're generating. Here's an example of what we do. One of the things, so we generate personalized worksheets. To the left is this simple thing that is created automatically if we don't give it too much context. But can anyone read what's on the screen? So if not, I'll just read it out. So at the top is the the follow prompt. This isn't great. Take our context into account and create a worksheet idea and structure it so we can hand it over to AI Illustrator. And then it reads the context document that we have and then creates what can be fed into. This was, I think, ChatGPT, not Manipam. This was fed into that to create something that is not just superficially visual, but meaningful in the sense that it ticks off all the things we want for our worksheets. That it to talk about real problems connected to the real world, should not be divorced from everything that's happening in our world and boiling down maths to, for instance, simple manipulation of symbols. This is another example. This is a facilitation guide again. So over the I think now 20 odd months of doing this, we realized that our facilitators are overwhelmed with textual documents. So we want to make it very easy for them to understand things. So we're doing these visuals. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about. So all of this was about content, and if your use cases are largely about how you generate content or synthesize content, the importance of maintaining context, or could be very, very long context. The most important takeaway I'd say from that is that just start documenting everything, right? So whatever rough thoughts you have, scattered thoughts you have, you can start documenting all of that, because those can be cleaned up, those can help you ideate further, and that can eventually become context for whatever you create, whether that's tasks or marketing to-dos or storytelling to-dos or whatever. Now, in the last 3 or 4 months, what's happened is that even my mental model has shifted, is that I was still using ChatGPT and Claude as a tool. We were using Copilot as a tool as well, but now they're powerful enough that these can be active partners, right? They can actually do with a fair bit of autonomy. We don't have to handhold it and guide it through every step of the way. So the word agentic is used for that, but agentic is a little opaque. I like thinking of it as the shift from passive or reactive to proactive, right? You don't have to, the AI does not have to wait for you to ask it something. It should be able to work with all the context it has about what you're doing to nudge when required. So if anyone here is old enough, some of you are, I think, as like I am, to remember Microsoft's Clippy. So it was famously mocked because it was intended to be proactive, but it was very context deaf, and it would just pop up inside your Microsoft Doc or PowerPoint or whatever and say, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Right? But now I think that we are actually in an era where Clippy can finally be a thoughtful, proactive partner. And we're very quickly going to transition. Cool. So I think I'll just walk you through some of the ways we're doing this. I'll walk you through the slide and then maybe very briefly show this, what we've done. What I want to showcase here are 3 things we've done. So one is a simple vibe-coded hiring dashboard. When I say vibe-coded, we've actually worked on it. One of our team members has worked on it to actually make it production ready. I don't know if that's going to be needed some N months from now. It's needed now because these things are still getting better. And rather than just deal with endless round of iteration, you can have someone who understands code. But these have gotten so good so fast that I don't know if it's really needed anymore. So the way we do hiring is, I'm just going to show that. So we have Google Forms. We ask our educators to fill out. We don't believe in CVs. CVs, of course, have been killed completely by AI. You have no way of knowing, how much authenticity there is in that. And so the way we try to tackle that is, to the right, we have a form where we ask them to fill out a bunch of answers. And some of these are narrative based. These are questions like, hey, what do you think is actually interesting about education, right? How would you teach maths, for instance? And we specifically request users not to use AI because those are very easy to pick up based on a gut feel when you read that. We haven't tested if the AI can actually detect whether it's AI or not. So what we then do is, so earlier, before we built this dashboard, we were essentially just getting this data, going through it manually, And then that should work where it was just one person looking at this. But once we had a team, we needed a way to communicate. We needed to look at all of this together. So I'm going to switch tabs and show this. So what we did is we built this where we essentially pulled this data from Google automatically, Google Forms automatically, and filled up this dashboard. Now SaaS tools like this exist. In the past, what would have happened is you would have paid for something and then figured out whether it fits your need or not. But now it's possible to actually build something like this very, very quickly. And if you can build it, there's a trade-off. If you need it really customized, and you're not going to be, and you want to use it as an internal tool, you're okay with a minimal data footprint, you can go ahead and build something like this. So this sort of imports all the data that we have from a Google form. It shows us all the responses here. We have a way to then tell whether we're reviewing it or not. It even has a connection to WhatsApp, so we can click this. I'm not sure if it works right now, but we can click that and then send them an invite. All of this. So there are SaaS tools that exist, but the big shift is that this can actually be built in less than a day, and you can use it. And nothing's going to be as customized as something that you build and ideate. So we can even generate AI-based review of this. And I want to caution that, of course, we don't want to filter completely based on AI. We want to give it some context and prompt and analyze it, but we still want to be able to see what the raw data is. So this actually allows us to do both. It does an analysis and tells us whether the candidate is good or not. In this case, it looks like it's actually swapped it. It says that candidate is high quality. As of now, we're not blindly relying on this. We still go down and see what their actual data is. So this is helpful because it saves us time. We essentially already had a hiring pipeline built. What this allows us to do is very quickly with a bunch of stakeholders who can all look at it and review it and then tag something as worth reviewing. So that's one. Let's go back there. This is another use case. The reason I'm going through these use cases is to essentially show you how we're using it. Some of this might be things you're already doing, some may not be. This is another one where we have built a simple WhatsApp extension. What this does is it allows us to send out WhatsApp messages. Of course, it can be used for spam, but for us, it's useful because we're not going to send too many WhatsApp messages. It's just when we want to communicate with parents, prospective parents. It's a giant pain to send a whole bunch of WhatsApp messages. So this is an extension that we built. This was built using anti-gravity. Now, anti-gravity is a full-fledged IDE from Google. Now, the difference between something like an anti-gravity and Google AI Studio is Google AI Studio is web-based, and it's not an IDE. An IDE essentially allows you to write code completely and also look at the code. Google AI Studio doesn't allow you to do that. So anti-gravity was a good thing for us in this case where we're writing an extension. Let me briefly show you how this works. I want to share my full screen, so that's apparent.
Is anti-gravity something like cursor? Is that the same thing?
Anti-gravity is a bit like cursor, yes. Cursor is also a full-fledged IDE. Like it essentially integrates with VS Code and gives you all that. Anti-gravity, I think that some differences, for instance, which are powerful are, I don't know if Cursor does this, is anti-gravity is also integrated the web browser, right? So it completes the loop. So when you're building an anti-gravity, you can actually open up the browser, test out what you're building, understand what the bugs are. So in some ways that it's powerful enough to close the full loop. The Cursor, I'm not sure if the recent update has done that. I don't know if that's possible. But again, the way this works is that I think, the field is so fast moving and things are so much easier to build that this might well be a feature that's available.
So this WS sender that you are showing.
Yes.
So this is something that you built through AI, or I mean, this is
Yes, yes. This is something we built through it. So I just wanted to show that. Uh, so let me just show you how this works. We wanted to be able to send messages. So we had an event recently where it was an annual event for parents, not just for part of our micro school, but also prospective parents and parents interested in alternative learning. We had a sign up form. We had a whole bunch of sign-ups. Wanted to send out a message to them. Now these are contacts that are not in my that are not already stored, right? So that WhatsApp makes it a little painful to send out messages. So then the idea was, hey, why not just have an extension which can do that? So that's what we've done. So here's a message that I want to send out, and I can. So I just filled in my number here, but you can like this allows us to have a whole bunch of numbers here. I load the contacts. I click on send. It goes to that particular number, and it can then send that message. We also, just for fun, did a bunch of other things, which is that I can also automate replies. So we don't obviously use that. I think we could use that if we have enough context, but this was just my coded, so just wanted to see what that looks like. So I can click reply, and it thinks about what to reply, and sends this out. And here is the promise and peril of, I think, what AI can help you do. So this can be used by someone to generate mountains and mountains of slop. That's already happening on social media. That's happening on LinkedIn. But if used well, this can actually take what you really authentically want to tell someone and spread the message. Yeah. So this is another example of what we've done. This is using anti-gravity.
So in this case, the WhatsApp has not been marking the messages spam, etc. Right? Because
so it can. So for instance, if you try to bombard this. 1 second. Like this. Yes. So if you try to bombard WhatsApp with this and send a whole bunch of messages, they do have their spam detectors which will light off. But so I think the use case which makes sense where this will not get flagged is we want to send, let's say, 20, 30 messages a day, right? So we want to do that. We send this out. Or I don't know what the limit is. We haven't tested it, but we want to get banned. The bottleneck definitely is that, right? So every platform will now be vigilant when it comes to AI-generated content or spamming. Already they were. So WhatsApp has a lot of spam filters. But they're also very hostile to working with external APIs, right? WhatsApp, if you want to do something like this, you have to sign up for the WhatsApp API and do that. So everyone has their own closed wall ecosystem. So AI enables us to essentially create an API out of any system that you're using, pretty much, right? And I think that's a big thing. Again, so I feel like there is a sweet spot where you're able to create something like an API or something like an extension like this one and use it to your benefit. But the moment it veers into spam territory, I think the volumes will trigger something and they can ban that. So
right. Yeah. Thanks, Sai. Because actually, just sharing our experience. So we also used to do some messages like this from terminal actually, from say computer terminal initially. And then I have to check with the marketing, but then we also have to shift to a tool which provides WhatsApp API. For also for a better dashboard and anything, and also to reduce the chances of spam.
Yeah, so I think the sweet spot for tools like this is for us, WhatsApp API does not make sense yet because our parent community is small and this is such an infrequent use case.
Right.
But then going and finding a tool which does what we want, just going hunting through the bunch of tools, giving our data to, and especially one big concern we have is giving out numbers to these tools, right? So once the numbers are fed in, we're not sure how these numbers are going to be used. So for a use case like ours, where we're not dealing with hundreds or thousands of maybe thousands of messages, this makes a lot of sense. It helps us retain our data privacy. But if you're talking about high velocity, high volume usage, then the API, the official API.
Yeah. Thank you, Sai. That is fine.
All right. Then let's go to the next one. this is something we're building now, and this is actually something that's a personal pet peeve and project that I like to work on. This we built using AI Studio. It's actually in process. So we're all using some version of task management, whether it's Asana or Lane or whatever that you're using. But for us, the issue is that, and as many people have pointed out, that data exists in so many different buckets and silos right now. And also data can come alive with AI, right? Data it could be a WhatsApp message or a Slack message or just a thought that you had. But the moment we are able to document that somewhere, it should be able to connect with our entire context and become a task or become a follow-up or something of that sort. I do think that all of these providers will build this in, but again, the trade-off here is we want something that really fits our use case and the way we use things. So here's an example. So this is the kind of message that I would send on Slack to our team, right? So we do a lot of observations in the school, and unfortunately, this has become a time sink because it is very important. This is the raw data on which the reports are built. But if they fail, educators are not able to do this, and then we have to sit and figure out what's happening. So it is important, but a time sink. And when I send this message, typically if this happened in Slack, I would have to consciously articulate or think about, reflect on this, and also make this a task somewhere. But what if we can actually generate action items automatically, right? This again is not fully fleshed. We're building this out. This is the very early stages, but it shows you how you can take some context that you have or a message that you have, marry it with existing context, and automatically create potential tasks, right? So I can assign this to anyone in the team. So this is actually one of our apps called Comini OS. So I can do this. I can accept these. Right? Again, simple, but I think what AI enables is that this can be custom built for our purpose, right? And we can tweak it as much as possible. Yes. So that's 3 tools that I wanted to showcase that we're building in-house. The danger with this, of course, is as builders, we can also get carried away and always say, hey, why not build that? Of course, the trade-off is, does it make sense for us to build in-house, or do we use an existing tool? Increasingly, finding existing tools is a problem. And one of the issues we've always had is that we find a good tool, but there's something that doesn't fit our need really well. And pre-AI being this good, what used to happen is that we'd be okay with it and then figure some workarounds. But now what's possible is that I would say 90% of the SaaS tools that we are happy to pay $5 to $10 for, depending on your size, you can actually build a version that is custom, that suits your specific needs, and do that very, very quickly. In our case, we are technical, so I understand this as well. But given how quickly AI is moving, I do think that non-technical founders can also do it. So anti-gravity is great. I think even non-technical founders who have not really done any programming can start using as well, and it's only going to get better.
Sai, maybe can you talk through the process of building one of these use cases so that it becomes more?
Yes. So we can just do this with Pulse, perhaps. That's it. Yeah. So this is the essentially the AI Studio dashboard, right? Should I just dive into this, or should we start from something new?
Maybe we start with something new, and very basic would also be okay.
Right. Okay. So all right. Anyone has any idea that we want to build whiteboard together? Sorry, there's a question there. What's the question? Sorry, how do you read that?
Apart from WhatsApp, is there any group where we have specifically?
This maybe perhaps we can keep for later. right?
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Um,
Maybe we'll just build a simple task tracker, Sai.
yeah. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's build a task tracker where each of us can suggest a feature. So I'm just typing out something. All right. So can we have a show of hands as to how many have actually used Google AI Studio? Just to know if this is. Okay. I guess maybe 3 out of 8. Okay. So this should still be useful for some. For those who haven't, as you can see, what you need is just a prompt and it goes ahead and then essentially starts building the code. It should run for maybe a minute or so and will give you a functioning dashboard. And then the question is, the way you work with it is you start looking at what works, what doesn't, and give it a prompt. Now, what's good with Google, with AI Studio is that you can actually make this a product. What I mean by product is you can actually launch it. It doesn't sit as an artifact inside here. You can actually host it so that it can be a standalone site that you can interact. While with this might take anywhere between a minute and 2 minutes, we can also perhaps chat about how others are using it. I know that Granola is something that people are using, but that's for note taking and it's very useful. I don't know if Granola has other integrations which allow you to automatically connect it to things like Slack. So anyone here who's used Granola who can talk about what's particularly interesting outside of note taking and synthesis, if there's anything.
Yeah, I have been using Granular quite extensively. So that's for various aspects. One, definitely for taking notes. So what we generally use it is we generally have stand-ups every day in the morning. So it takes me notes, creates action items, automatically sends a task into their calendar as well, and it helps me track back at the end of the day if those were done or not done. So that's very helpful. We use it for hire, even when we do interview as well. So it takes notes. And generally, if any of my teammate takes the interview, they share me the notes. I take the notes. I don't even read through it. I put it to a prompt, no, the OpenAI is quite smart enough to pick up if I should be really hiring them or not. So it rates me, like I've written a very detailed prompt with the notes. So it tells me on a scale of 5 whether I should really go ahead and set up a meeting or not. If I should set up, it also tells me on a priority whether I should do it very quickly or I should really look out for other candidates. So that's very helpful. So yeah, mainly for notes and also following up on the tasks. And recently they came up with another feature where I can give a certain date and time period. It tells me what really happened during this entire period, where I should really focus time, where we have not been efficient. Yeah, I feel it's very, very helpful. And also now slowly we are trying to integrate it with our 11 Labs as well. 11 Labs, if people have not used it, It's a very, very, very powerful one, especially for audio notes. So we have been trying to integrate and work on those aspects.
Thanks. Thanks. You.
Thanks, Shrikar. Useful feedback. Anyone else?
Hi, Sai. Hi, Dhruv. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Saurabh.
Yes. So, hi. So, of course, I mean, apart from the use cases that we all use commonly, I've been using Emergent also to probably develop a lot of MVPs and people to showcase that what exactly we want to develop. And that's not what the question is here. I mean, I have one of my team member Vaneth also on the call. One of the question that we were really discussing, and this call was rightly on app time. So what happens is today there is a requirement where we expect a lot of coding to happen with speed, with AI coming in picture, right? But there is still that thing in the engineer or the developer which is left, which says कि यार नहीं ये पूरा code नहीं बनता है. There is this last bit which remains, and then effectively it doesn't save time. So what I'm saying is something that they were irrespective without using the AI was putting a 15-hour development. They still end up doing it in 15 hours even after AI, either out of the arrogance of not to believe in AI and say कि नहीं ये पूरी तरह develop नहीं करेगा and this will be always wrong, or of the fact that they'll end up spending their time doing something else. How do you bridge that? And matlab, as a founder who is not a technical guy, I mean, for me the question is very simple: does AI do an end-to-end coding? I mean, how well can you use it for your actual tech team? Because we work on an app and we have a live app, and you expect a lot of coding to happen on through the AI, but there has been a good amount of resistance that keeps coming from our developers that it doesn't effectively work the way that the world is speaking about. So anyone here in the group using coders or using AI for their codes in real apps that are being live, and how is it really helping? So someone can help with that light at least.
I can start with that. So we actually we use it heavily in our internal tooling for our apps. We build that, and that is true. So AI has this last 10% bridge gap, and it is incredibly fast at doing some things, but the fail modes take a lot of time. So I think effectively, after a lot of use, we might be at a 20% speed bump right now. It is not a 2x. And the way we look at it is, it comes down to a mental model, right? If your mental model is, hey, you know what, this should be about 2 hours of work or 3 hours of work for a developer, and it's fairly standard, right? I think that can be done very, very quickly. But once complexity crosses a certain threshold, then it becomes hard, because despite their long context and all of that, they're not able to retain all of this. So it needs a lot of tending. It needs that. So, and the other thing is the landscape is evolving so very quickly. So I think till about November, December, even we had many issues with the number of problems. Like the whole web programming with AI was taking a fair bit, but it's gotten much faster there, right? So now I think that we're able to see different domains within which AI makes a lot of sense. For instance, documentation creation and test creation, it's almost a no-brainer. We can just get the AI because you already have your code structure. But if it's creating the code structure, and if it's something that's fairly unique in some way, it could very well trip up, right? But if it's a website and you're using very standard patterns of design, standard patterns, it can very quickly break that. I think that also, and we are sort of seeing this internally as well, and we keep asking, and this is where it's very interesting, because people have been programming for a while. You have that inertia, right? You have that inertia when it comes to is it like does it make sense to switch over or not? And I know fairly senior developers who are very good at it, who are like dismissive of this until they were forced to sort of look at where these tools are, right? But that said, it's not that they're so great that we can just completely revamp how we're doing this. We can drastically cut down our team size and all of that. We are seeing internally, I think, about a 20% bump. Some things are very quick, but obviously the quick things are not are quick because I think they're sort of easy as well, so that they're not really big differentiators.
I think, I mean, for us also, I mean, I think at almost 2 months back, I tried building a system where it was little bit of complex, which was there. And even though it built the UI pretty well, but in the functionality point, there were a lot of failures that were consistently happening. And I had like little bit of programming understanding, but it was long back. It was very difficult for me to actually try and understand that where do I go and fix the entire issue is. But on the other hand, what I did is so this thing is that we had this debate almost a month back that should we build an app or should we, I mean, we wanted to build a small app. So should we build it or should we, try to, give it to somebody, outsource it? But in the meantime, what we did, we had a discussion internally and we put up one intern and we assigned one senior person to that person actually and said this intern, can he build it? Because he's in the learning mode and we gave 1 or 2 tools to the person. And then to our surprise, with a little bit help of that senior person, with a little bit of help of this AI and by using generating and this entire code, and plus getting help in terms of fine tuning that where the fail safes are, where we are facing problem, the person has been able to build some system, which I would say 70-80% is something which suffices, which we are trying to do here. I think at a label, yes, it is helping out, but if you are planning to build a complete system, I think that's where we are failing as of now, the way we see it.
Got it. Yeah, it's not exactly the complete system, but yeah, something which is live and you just want to build
Yeah.
functionalities over and above.
Right.
So but then reading the old code, understanding the entire architecture, and then building on top of it. Got it. Fair.
I think what we're seeing right now is the case where AI fails. I have no idea what it's doing. And the messages there are very mysterious, and I've seen complaints online as well. So it's just crafting, blueprinting, illuminating, and all of this is actually very illuminating.
No, I built something on emergent use on a similar form, and it was wonderful. And I could actually deploy it also. I use a paid account on emergent, and I ended up deploying it also. Used by the team for a couple of days, not even weeks, but that's about enforcement. You can't help, right? And but yeah, I mean, I would have spent about an hour on emergent, and everything was built fantastically well. And that site is probably still live. But yeah, so these things definitely can be coded well. The only thing that happens is, are they ready to be outsourced back, or are they ready to go out in the market as a product? If you want their entire UI UX is weak, the data architecture is weak, and it fails a lot more times than expected. So that is where I believe, or maybe we are not able to solve, at least at our end. There are people who are claiming that they have been able to code the entire app using AI, but I don't know how are they doing it.
Yeah. I think my feeling is that the AI is good at point systems where it's not linked to a lot of use cases, but it's just solving for one function. Right? I think that is where a lot of people are finding a lot of success, right? But if you're trying to, let's say, build your reporting system or a pseudo MI system, I think that is where it's kind of failing. So right now, what we are seeing is more point-based application, right? Where it's good at one specific use case.
Just on that note, like especially to answer the point about Saurabh, right? So I think definitely for a lot of POCs, this tools have been very, very helpful. But for us, especially because we work in the medical devices space, for production related or close to anything related to something which we can take it to the product, it's not at all there. But for POCs, it's been very, very helpful. On that, I also wanted to check with you guys if you, obviously for us, especially in the healthcare and the medical devices space, right? UI UX plays a very critical role. So I just wanted to check if you guys have any because we are trying to look out for a UI UX person who could help us reframe the workflow which we have and make it much more efficient. Even before we try that, we wanted to see if there are any good tools where we share our workflow and probably it can optimize and suggest. So just in case if you have any tools which you recommend, I'll be really glad.
Can you sort of explain that a little, Srikanth? What do you mean by this UI UX workflow here?
Yeah. So just to give a quick context on this, right? So one of our solution is we work in the space of women's health. What we do is we take medical images of the patient and then we create a digital twin of the organ, the uterus itself. So it's a heavily software driven solution where it connects to the existing system, takes the images and generates the model. So for that, there is a certain workflow in which the UI UX is designed. It's on a Windows platform. We use .NET as a WPF as a base technology. So one of the things which we are seeing is the way the entire UI UX is designed, right? We felt it could be much more better optimized. The entire design of the application could be done much more better. So that's where we are trying to see if we can hire a consultant to just optimize the workflow. So I was just curious to see if there are any tools which could be used for that. Does that help, Sai?
Yes, and that I think that particular use case with .NET and a Windows native thing, I don't have any insights into. So most of our UI UX is web based or app based.
Okay.
Different.
Like the whole idea is because even before we did it on .NET and Windows based, it's all designed in wireframes. So we have the wireframes. So the idea is if you give a wireframes to any tool, would it say, okay, you can make this better, something like that? Is there any tool which you can think of?
So that's already sort of possible in that Figma. So Figma is by far, I think, the most used tool when it comes to design. The web design, that is, right? Web or app design. They have their own AI integration. They have their MCP server. We have started using it. It's not as quick as some of the other ones, but in terms of being able to ideate, right?
Okay.
Like for instance, you just upload your wireframes, and then say, or even your design in Figma, plug it into the AI and say, let's go through this step by step. Does the sequence make sense? Does the information funnel make sense, for instance? It is able to give you suggestions. So you could.
Yeah, in fact, the UI screens which were developed was using Figma.
Okay.
So we had used it, but I was trying to see if there's a way, if there are any tools to optimize it further.
Not that okay. So I don't know if this is actually working. There was an error, but it could be because 3.1 was released. But so this is again one of the perils of AI. So it was continuously throwing messages as to what it was doing, but none of them were really helpful, and now it's back at it. I do want to show one thing. I think Saurabh, in terms of what's possible right now with AI, right? This is something we built recently, and I don't think this would have been possible in the pre-AI age. This is a website where we are essentially trying to translate textbooks into comic books. All of this is very heavily AI driven, steered by one person. We have a developer working on it, and it has a fair bit right now. So it is something that we are giving out, and there's a lot of functionality here. So this has comic books, where these are actually speech bubbles that are overlaid on the comic book. These can be translated. In this case, you can change the reading level, all of that. I don't know if I play it, you can.
It's so quiet, Rohan.
So this also has audio built in. This is sort of an example of a product where we know that the complexity is bounded, in that we can modularize it. We know that each comic has a certain amount of complexity. It has the same pattern. It has a bunch of images. We have speech bubbles, and then we could use that bounded complexity to then build. right? So we've also layered this with multiple languages. So this is English. Yeah, so it does translations and changes script conversions, all of this. So in this case, it's almost as if we've said that, hey, you know what, we know what AI is capable of. So we work within the bounds of that complexity and we'll build what is possible. So these sort of things are already possible now. And I don't think we would have even attempted this pre-AI because the product itself is heavily reliant on what the latest AI tools give us. And that's essentially visual content, textual content, linguistic content, all of it. So how we marry all of that together. Okay, so let's see if it's happening here. Yes, unfortunately that failed. Do we want to try to give it something simpler perhaps to see if it works? The good thing is that this while it goes off and runs, we can keep chatting. I don't know if we'll do anything or not. Cool. Any other tools that people have come across have found intriguing? So sort of I actually heard about Emergent. I didn't really know if anyone was actually using it. So you're the first person I've heard from who use it. What made you decide to try it out?
What made me decide? No, so I've been using Lovable or Cursor, but I've sometimes felt that they are not, probably maybe it's not made by Indian, so it does not understand that emotions well at times, or that requires a very complex prompts, right? If your not prompts are not very accurate, the Lovable just gives you something very basic. So I've been always keeping on looking, and then of course there are quite a lot of news about Emergent nowadays. So when the first time the name came up is when I tried, and yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, let me see if my account is logged in, and if I can show you guys something that I've built as a sort of a model to just present to the team that, okay, this is what we can work or we can share. Let me know if my screen is visible. Is it visible?
Yes.
So like this is the daily tracker that I was talking about. I'm not sure if it is still on. Let me do a preview. So for an example, since I wanted this to be logged in by everybody in the team, so this has a login and all. I don't think I remember the password. It's been some time.
So, Jan, just one quick question, Saurabh. So, when you built this Emergent, so did you launch it to here only, or do you have to get the code to export it to
So
somewhere
I
else?
launched it. I launched it in Emergent only.
But that gives a small preview window, right?
No. So when you open this, it gives you the entire window. I ended up launching it in Emergent only, with an entire dashboard. And so if you can see this is my chat, and that's the preview site. I think there was just one password ID. Yes, this is the sample ID password. So maybe I'll just try using this. I spent some time to build this. So as in like about an hour or so. So this was built well. This came out very well. I did realize. Oops. Sorry, I think this is something wrong with. No, so there's just a password error. I'll probably try and do the password error, correct it, but just give me a minute. In the meantime, Sai, if you can speak, and I'll just get this password sorted or create a new account per se.
So this worked. It's the last one for whatever reason. The prompt here was a simple task tracker for figuring out what to cook. Let's see. Okay. I have no idea what this is even going to do. But yeah, so I guess it's just adding that there. I mean, this is trivial enough to be both useless, but also I think it shows you that even to build something like this, even 6 months back, would have taken a fair bit of effort. With a bit of steering, this can be fixed with the right prompts.
No, Sai, my question to Saurav and to you also is this. Let's say you have built this tracker or whatever small app that you wanted to build, right?
Right.
Now, if I want to, let's say, get it used by 10, 12, 15, whatever users within team or whatever outside.
Right.
So where do we publish it actually? So do we get it? Can we publish it from here only, or do we export
Yes.
the source code? How does it really work?
So you can actually, in AI Studio, and I believe increasingly many of the other platforms, they have their own backend. In this case, it allows you to pick a project. We already had a project, so we can publish to that project. I haven't done this recently. Let's see what happens. I believe it gives you a link.
So you can publish.
It's up to them.
So to answer that, I've actually published also multiple things. And now since I'm not paying for it, it has got down, but you can actually publish straight away. You can, use their own, they charge you some amount. Like I still remember, Emergent took about 50 credits every month, and each credit would be 50 credits would be about 2,000 rupees, 1,000 to 2,000 rupees. So that is what they'll charge you, and they will publish on their server itself, and it will just go and be ready. So you don't have to do anything, and then that can be shared with everybody, and that's your sort of a private server is what they claim, with every data being protected. Plus, they also allow you to take the code. You can go and publish it using your tech team anywhere that you want. So it's not something that gets difficult.
Yeah, so this seems to have been published. I'm just sharing the link in chat window. And I think that increasingly, and because publishing is a pain and a lot of non-technical users do not want to deal with all the many issues, hosting, encryption, all of that, many of these providers, like they're already doing, will provide a very easy one-click process to publish.
I'm just sharing it. I missed, there is one task in Emergent that you have to do actually. You have to wake up servers. So I forgot waking up the server. So that's why it is not. So this is sort of a dashboard that we had built. So this is supposed to be, say, a dashboard at my level where everybody would be working and putting their chat, tasks everywhere. I think there is no task being put up because I was a CEO. So this was built saying that, okay, whenever team is putting a task, it can be categorized into growth, operations, tech, or finance tasks. If they want to add any specific note for me, they can add it over here, and any directions or decisions that they want. And all deliverables can be listed over here one by one. And then there was a date selection and weekly trend, etc. that can happen. So this was effectively, I think it's been some time, so maybe it's pretty old, but if all of this was built using Emergent in about maybe an hour or hour and a half. Of course, I took a couple of sessions of half hour, but everything was very well done. You can add users if you want. You can change their roles. You can do whatever that you want to do. So if I supposedly now switch it off, because now I have actually wake up the server. So let's say Gaurav.Jain. We create another account. It shows that I will be a team member because I had been very critical that make somebody a team member. So this is my account now that's been created. Okay, now this is about add a commitment. right? So if I want to add a commitment, so what is the deliverable? I'm saying I will create the web tracker today. This is medium priority. Just 1 second. The medium priority, this is the due date. If it's due today, if it is not due today, I can select a date. What is my, so this is one of the questions that we always had. What is the definition of done? One error that probably always a tracker have. So making it customer live is the definition. So you simply say this is the definition. If you want to add a metric, you add a blocker. I don't have developers working. This is since whenever you want to put it, since 16th, who can help? Say one can help. And this is the focus check if you want to put it. And so you do this, another add commitment, it saves automatically. Now if I just go out and log in back at, so there is this 8 submission has become 9 submission. Now if you go on total deliverables, one second. I've actually forgotten, but it just comes over here. It's become 9. There was 1 submission that comes over there. And you can actually check all the teams tracker and believe that whatever is there.
So Saurabh, this is an
So
interesting
effectively, everything was available for the team. My team had started to use it, and they could simply log in into their tools. They could check whatever is something that is pending for them. So I'll send you guys the link once I make it reactive again. But I hope that explains how the tracker was sort of built using all personal things that I wanted. I wanted them to categorically write the definition of closure. I want them to write what is a blocker, who can support. And for me, it was supposedly one view of everything. All the team members with all the blockers that can come in the morning, that these are different people, different doing different things.
So Saurabh, I have a question. So that's interesting. So the reason you went with this was not just to try mergent, but also because none of the existing tools really did what you specifically wanted. You had certain very specific use cases. Is that correct?
Yeah, certain use cases and the kind of language and things that the way that emergent shows. I'll give you one classic example, maybe. This will help you understand. So I wanted to explain my team. We wanted to build something called as sell and buy back. So we wanted to launch a separate, we are launching a separate website where a person can buy a product and sell it back, or buy a toy and sell it back whenever the parent is bored. So this is what I had wrote it to emergent very simply. It was just a 1-line wrote, or a couple of lines maybe, not too much. And then this is what it has ended up building. I had just handed this over directly to my program manager, and he was completely able to understand. So it's like, buy toys, use them, we buy them back. Guaranteed buyback, no resale. You just click, this is the buy value. Buy, use, sell back. Pay only for the time you use. So I had not written any of these. Madam, not even a single word was written by me in terms of even the language, what it is supposed to be. I had just given it a couple of basic English prompts, and it will just give everything that, okay, you buy at this, you sell us back at this price, this is your effective cost. And then the entire web page is sort of ready. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
So this, if you look at it, the pricing and I'll leave it apart. But if I have to just show you guys what was the prompt written, you can see it over here. It would have been a very small chart. So I had written design and build one landing page, no inner pages, for the elephant, launching sell and assured buyback program. Primary objective, parent should understand in 5 seconds. This should be the hero section. Okay, I think this is their reply. Yeah. This I had taken from another AI, ChatGPT and all. And then I just put this back again as is copy pasted and output. So this first line was mentioned in ChatGPT, got the output, put it up into Emergent. I was new to Emergent at that time. Then it will simply write, okay, this is what you're trying to build. It will keep building, building, building. And this is what it gave me as the first shot. And it will then keep building the others. It will keep showing. So one thing which is different from Google AI Studio is it keeps showing where it is. So it keeps showing you and takes the screenshot, shows you that this is what I've built right now. And then it will recheck, it will do the QA test on mobile as well as everywhere. And then it has just given perfectly the last page. So this is where the agent finished. And then I'll just say that this is my current page, just make it a little more easy to understand. So this something like creating an MVP, and I mean, Dhruv is there, but otherwise also, we have used this page, showed it to even one or two of our investors or coming up investors that, you know, this is what we are now working on. This is something that we are looking to develop purely to cut down on our librarian dependencies, and this is how we will make sure that products are coming to us for free. So it, rather than speaking English, this webpage just took and helped us in a very good way to explain very easily what exactly are we talking about. So all these things can be done very, very well.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense, Saurabh. What is the costing here? Do you know? Like, how much did it cost you to host these?
So I mean, there are a lot of bulk buyers that gives you. So Emergent ka 1 year plan I bought through a bulk buyer at about 10,000 rupees, and it gives me 100 credits every month. To make a website, whatever I'm showing you, it takes you about 20-25 credits.
Understood.
And if
And
you
is this-
want to buy more credits, I mean, even if you don't go to a bulk buyer and all of that, this is the typical cost. So it takes you about 100 credits for $20. 100 credits a month is good enough for anybody wanting to do. So 1,500 to 1,600 rupees a month is roughly enough. It takes about $50, 50 credits to deploy a website for a month-on-month basis.
Makes sense.
The other tool that you mentioned, Saurabh, is that something that's actually being used actively now?
The other that I was showing you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we used it for a couple of days. I think it failed on human grounds. People didn't fill their task. Yeah, that's why I said it's been some time, because we tried implementing it for about a week. Maybe that's where the human dependencies come. I mean, I can make as much a tracker as I want, but अगर कोई भरेगा ही नहीं और कोई review ही नहीं करेगा तो क्या होगा? So that's where it failed. But yeah, I mean, it was used for 4-5 days very well, and it worked phenomenally. Indeed, I was to call you through that time. You remember our discussion around one company. I don't know if you guys have invested, Task Tracker.
Yeah. We didn't invest, but yes.
Yeah, so I was to even call you and say, yeah, now whatever they are doing is probably quite outdated.
Yeah, true. Cool. I think this was good. Thanks a lot, all of you, and especially Sai for taking us through this here.
Yeah, and Saurabh as well. Thank you. So this in terms
Thank
of
you.
nitty-gritty of how we can actually build something. So thank you and thanks. Yeah, thank you everyone. Thanks, Dhruv, for taking us.
Thanks a lot, Sai. Thanks, Saurabh.